Welcome to the Bear Tiger Podcast, episode number 5. Joined by 2 stars of the show, James Slate. How are you?
Aloha. Yeah, really good. How are you?
Good, thank you. And Big Nige is back.
Back from holiday.
Back again.
You haven't commented on my tan lines.
I haven't seen him yet.
All right.
Let's keep it clean, sure. Let's keep it clean. Great to see you guys. We're going to dive straight in. We're going to have, because plenty of golf to get through today. We're going to have a pro golf roundup. Let's start out with the seniors. Seniors Open up at Glen Eagles. Turned out to be quite in a tournament.
It's King's Barnes, isn't it?
Glen Eagles.
On the King's course?
It's on the King's course, yeah.
Ah, okay.
We are experts in golf.
Yeah.
There are 2 different courses.
So we can start again, can't we?
No, we're going to leave that one in there. He's gutted with that. He's Mr. Like,
Mr.
I know
Golf.
everything.
Mr. Golf.
Oh, yeah, the King's course was proper thrown me. Anyway, I enjoyed it. So.
Anyway.
Did you watch any of it?
All of it. I have been proper golfed up this week.
You didn't recognise it was a completely different golf course.
He was watching the monthly medal over at King's Barnes. Who are these old guys?
You have played both those courses, haven't you?
Nope. I haven't played much golf in Scotland, so.
Okay.
Yeah, for...
you haven't got a passport, have you?
Yeah, not even allowed to drive across the border.
Taken away.
You'd stick out.
Yeah, in the boot of my mate's Metro. That was the last time I crossed the border. Yeah, no, look, it was really good. I was actually really happy for Darren Clarke. It was almost like a bit of a blast from the past with watching him with the emotions running wild with the 2011 win at the Open, and watching him kind of come down the stretch. It was that kind of bit where he clicked into it when he won in 2011, where that ball striking masterclass came back in. You know, that famous. I mean, for me, it's so relatable. He sends it out and curves it back in. Had a really good relationship with his old caddy who'd come back on the bag this week. Course had got so wet, hadn't it, with the break in play, and then they come back, there's just standing water and puddles everywhere. So you know as well as a golfer, when you're playing in conditions like that, your ball striking's got to be even tighter.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's quite noticeable that when you don't nip it off the top of the grass. So, and he had some really cool players breathing down his neck, and it was almost like a blast from the past, like watching golf with my dad 20 years ago. All these kind of stalwarts like Harrington, Montgomery, Paul Broadhurst coming through. And a special mention as well for John Kemp, I believe his name is, who won the silver medal, which is the top leading amateur, who is playing this week in the Silver Trophy at St George's Hill, where I'll be playing as well.
You're going to go and find him and get some stories.
I'd say well done. It's a pretty cool achievement, right?
Yeah, it was a really good event. Obviously, Darren Clarke being the eventual winner on -10, winning by 1 shot over Padraig Harrington, who had an unbelievable back 9, came home in 30. I mean, he had a shocker finish to the front 9. He thought he was out of it, and he just turned it on. And as we were chatting outside of the recording, he was just hitting it so much further than everybody else. You know, all this speed training that he's done, where he goes onto the range in the morning and he spends 20 minutes hitting drives as hard as he can. Bit of a warm-up for you, Nige. He literally goes out there, hits driver as hard as he can for 20 minutes, and the ball goes everywhere, missing the range, left, right, everywhere. But he doesn't
Even
care.
more like me.
Yeah.
Doesn't care. It's not about the accuracy. It's just about keeping his speed up. And obviously that really shone through.
Is that all about just getting the muscles super hot, Zed? Is that what he's trying to do really there?
He's working solely on speed. You think there's 3 hallmarks of what makes a good ball striker, and one of the first was the strike, making good contact. The next one is going to be controlling the curve, and the last one was the power. Everyone goes out and practices getting the right strike. Everyone goes out and practices how straight to hit it. But not many people would just focus on going, right, I'm now going to work on just the power bit, forget the other 2. Yet power gets forgotten about when you work on strike or when you work on accuracy.
So he's smashing them until he's exhausted.
Well, he's obviously quite fit, isn't he, now?
Because of that.
Because that's it's a training session in itself.
Yeah.
And he's just getting his mind and he's getting his body just ready to absolutely send it off every tee. I mean, but if he does that and smash it as hard as he can, then he can then
rein it back in.
80%, and it's still quite long. So, bit of food for thought there, Nigel.
It was so telling though as well on 18. Like no one had been able to think about getting it up over this, void where they were hitting to the bottom of the void, and pulling it back 20 yards, so then they could clear a 3-wood or a 5-wood over the peak of this area to be able to try and sneak it on the front. Harrington is the only person who stepped up with Chief and just absolutely sends it. I mean, the commentary box are in awe of it. I mean, he's covered it by 40 yards, and they're like, this is nuts. Gone down the left-hand side, and he's got like 160 home. Everyone's got like 275, 280, and he's just like flicked a mid-iron into into sort of 25 feet and rolled up next to the hole,
So
unfortunately.
what's the swing speed he's getting?
He was about 177 in the second half of when he had driver out, he was about
Ball
170.
speed.
Ball speed, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
177 swing speed, imagine that.
Yeah.
You'd take off.
Versus what, 150 with the rest of them?
Nah, well, yeah, Darren Clarke was the second quickest in the field, who was about 152 with driver, and Harrington was 177 ball speed. So it's 25 mile an hour clear.
Darren is normally faster than that. That was, that's cold and wet and waterproofs and tapping it down there, trying to win his golf tournament. He's faster than that.
So what would Harrington
normally
be if he in normal conditions, mid 180s?
They said that he was able to hit a 180 ball speed up at the Open, certainly on the practice ground, which is impressive for a guy who's supposed to be a senior golfer.
It was way above tour average on the PGA Tour, let alone the Seniors Tour.
It's pretty special. But yeah, some really good names that were up there as well, as you said. Ernie Els tied third, along with a whole host of golfers: Colin Montgomery, Paul Lawrie, past Open champion, Retief Goosen. It's quite good fun watching
It's more appealing than the DP and the PGA, to be honest. That especially for people older like myself. Like you said, it brings you back 20 years when you were watching golf with your dad. We got connection with these golfers and watching them play and compete again. It's great fun.
And actually, just watching how their bodies have evolved and things like that, and they're obviously sort of managing it slightly differently to how they have done in the peak of their career from a physical perspective. Watching how they now have changed their game to still be super competitive around these really tough golf courses and still shooting however many under par in kind of tricky conditions is actually still really, there's something really special about it. I think it was really well broadcasted. I thought the course looked fantastic, the King's course.
Yeah, I just thought King's Bars looked great.
The King's course, and and no one's barn. Yeah, no, it was really good viewing. Actually, really enjoyed it.
As you say, Nige, it was obviously really good viewing. There's some past greats in there, major champions across now to the DP World event. I think the highest ranked player was probably 95 in the world or 98 in the world. I think Rob McIntyre and maybe one other top 100 player who's just squeezing the top 100. After that, it doesn't look great times for the DP World. So DP World Tour event was won by Richie Ramsay, a friend of or a connection to.
He's a good friend
Nige.
of mine's cousin. So I followed Richie's career since we played in the Walker Cup in 2005, I believe, and then US Amateur in 2006. We were playing golf. We were away for the weekend in August, and this guy, Dave Anderson, his name is, just sort of drops into conversation. He says, my cousin's in the final of the US Amateur tonight. We can watch it.
That was funny, actually. He had a hat on that said there's something Anderson Foundation. So is that in connection with that?
Yeah, it must be, actually. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
That was passion, though. I mean, I know you say about the field, but that was passion in all of its glory. I mean, he's obviously had an opportunity at the British Masters to hold a putt on the last and just fall short. But
we were chatting.
It was more than that, wasn't it?
It was one ahead, right?
It was one ahead down 18, hit a beautiful drive in the middle of the fairway, and he unfortunately duffed it into the water,
which
is a shame. He was one shot in the lead, and I think he ended up tied third.
He still had a putt, though, I think, to make a playoff, I think, didn't he? I think at the Masters. But if not, he fell just short, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then
if he'd got a par, I think he would have been a playoff.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he missed it. He ended up missing out, didn't he? Because it's a back pin as well, so that water's not even a thought, and he's obviously a bit heavy, which would have been heartbreaking for him because he doesn't get that many opportunities because he's quite a short hitter, so he relies very much on hitting it dead straight. I know he's like everybody now, he's working on hitting it further, but there's only certain courses where he's going to be able to really operate, and obviously he took advantage of that this week at a links course where he can get it out there a little bit more and use his precision, and it's not all about taking it through the air.
Yeah,
and really good to see him win. He's a feisty player.
Yeah,
really feisty player. He gets real stuck in. He works really hard. Obviously, having been a previous US Amateur champion, he knows how to win. He's got that about him. But the opportunity is few and far between for someone who doesn't get it out there further than 280.
Yeah, the emotions were great on the 18th green. Lagged it up, had about 7 feet left, like cans the putt.
It's a great putt.
Amazing putt, yeah. And then just that was proper emotion with the fist pump.
That's his fourth tour win, I think. I remember right.
Yeah, I think the first one he said since
2015.
Yeah, when his daughter's been born, and that was really precious for him. So,
but for me, I think a lot of the emotion will probably have come from being where he was in that British Masters and dropping it at the last minute, because you could see he was gutted, and I think he had his hat down over his head, didn't he, when he was finishing that round, and to be able to come back and knowing that you've got a chance. And he played really, really well, steadily. Four rounds with good scores, and he was in the final group and just did the right thing.
I think what was nice though, Zed, just talking about the field, is that right now I don't think Richie Ramsay cares about who is in the field. A win's a win. It's still tough to beat the golf course, no matter who else is in the field. And,
100% doesn't care. You can only beat the people you're playing against, and it's still a win. And those players are all really good players, and this is a platform. Then that's how you get out the world rankings, and that's how you move on to the next stage. When he goes to Wentworth to the PGA, he goes in there as a winner, and you create that confidence, and that's how you go on from these. So there's different stories. I mean, there's different stories for all these players as to why they're important. For, like you said there, Nige, about Richie Ramsay struggling at the Belfry, and that's a story for him. Can he bounce back? It's a massive deal for him. And there's other players in there who are playing to keep their status for next year. Just from a fan viewer's point of view, we've been quite spoilt recently with all the majors, a major a month coming in here. Then we're chatting about past greats at the
Senior Open.
King's Pass. And then you get a DP World event at a fantastic links course, and the field is not quite as exciting, but we know it can be exciting for us because we can look at it in here because we follow golf and maybe have a connection to Richie Ramsay or have a story about Paul Waring, drinking with Paul Waring at the British Masters or something like that. So
Great
you kind
guy.
of see those little bits. But for the person coming in and doesn't know all that, it's just don't have you want to see the big stars all the time.
Yeah, and a model professional, because it was the 6th bottle of Ace of Spades the night
Talking
before
about
his
Paul
first
Waring,
round.
Talking about Paul Waring or yourself?
Let's put a lid on this, and he went out and made the cut, and then obviously finished second this week, and now he's up into the. I think he's now on the brink of the top 60. Where he'll be able to go to the tour final. So really nice guy.
He's a really good player.
He's been around for years, isn't he, Paul? I mean,
he's been around for quite a while. Yeah, he's a really good ball striker. He's had a lot of injury, had a lot of back injuries, and so forth. Always he kind of kept his card, even when he was kind of only playing a part-time schedule. Really good ball striker, strong guy, and him and his mate, his mate Alec, they do like a YouTube thing, and they're quite a good watch.
Yeah, he was telling us about that actually. Yeah,
they're quite a good watch.
Yeah,
The Poodle is his nickname.
The Poodle. There you go. Plays in glasses. Not often you get players who do that.
No.
And then also a special mention probably for a mate of ours. Todd played all 4 rounds this week. Looked like he was going quite nice. He had a really good moving day. And it's just tough. It's tough, isn't it, across all 4 rounds?
Finished 26th. I think he slipped in the last round, made a couple of bogeys early on. Thought, maybe that's gone, but he saved it at the end and got back to level par and bumped back up the leaderboard. It's a nice experience for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think maybe they get points that go to the Challenge Tour now for that. I think you maybe get 26th place points on Challenge Tour, so that would be good for him.
Well, it'd be quite good actually with things like that when you get players who are on other tours but they get starts and things like that. I think they should be able to, certainly when they go up a tour, I think they should be able to pick where the points or where the attributes go towards, because if I was in that position of thinking if I had a really good week and I'd levelled up on a tour, I'd want that to be replicated reciprocated in my Challenge Tour score.
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah.
So if he finishes 26th there, I think that means he gets 26th place points as if he played Pat Challenge Tour.
Is that a guarantee or is that a choice though?
No, it's a thing. Like
brilliant.
if you get into the event on the way up, like a next level event, it's not as if you then don't get the points on your tour.
Oh, that's really cool.
So 26th place points should count 26th place points back on the tour that he should have been playing, I said, as such.
Oh, cool.
Because otherwise you would get players who just wouldn't bother going and playing.
Yeah, they wouldn't take the option.
And then like the Cazoo Classic then struggles for players because actually get the players they bring in don't want to play because they're already stuck on their own tour and don't want to miss out a week.
A bit of logic happening there in the old
I like that.
tour.
I like that a lot.
It's where it kind of has to be done, doesn't it?
Like that chat.
Yeah, I love that chat.
Love that chat. And then the LPGA, the major at the Evian. Did you guys catch any of that?
I did. I saw bits and bobs of the final round because obviously it was one of the things that Sky were trying to cover. Probably as one of their premier events this week. But again, I think did we have a single event on tour this week that wasn't actually hampered or suspended at some point with inclement weather? It felt like everyone was this week.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shocker, wasn't it? But we had a Brooke Henderson won for. I think it was the first time for about 5 years, won a major. Still, I mean, amazingly
her
enough.
first major win, I think.
No, it's her second, and she's only 24, and they're saying she's had a bit of a 5-year drought. Wow. I just find that sort of stuff amazing in the women's game.
5-year drought,
unbelievable.
Is that because they turn pro so young?
Yeah, they obviously women develop faster, and they were able to they like Lydia Ko. She's been around for absolutely forever as well, and she's still mid-20s, mid-early 20s. But it was a fascinating last round. Brooke Henderson finally coming through, had the lead, was up in the last group, had a bit of a shocking start. The last group, I think it was Jin Yong Ko and Brooke Henderson both had a 4-putt on the front nine. And it was all going awry. Then Lydia Ko did her normal and just shot a great last round like she always does in majors and just seems to be able to turn it out every single time. Then my absolute golf swing favourite, Nelly Korda, she was in the mix for a while and then ended up completely messing up a par 5 in the back nine. So that was disappointing. And then Schubert looked absolutely in control. I don't think she's won before. They were chatting to her mum before she teed off. She was kind of in the latter groups and her mum was an absolute nervous wreck. But she didn't look that way. She played fantastic golf down the stretch, made a couple of really good birdies, and then just missed a 12-foot putt on the last to get to 17 under, and Brooke Henderson was able to birdie the last. So
to shoot level, didn't she? So she just got it over the line. I think.
Yeah, she bounced back. She had that. From going in the lead to losing it is just a terrible time. But somehow she just was able to turn it around and get herself back in the mix. She's done that a couple of times. The mental fortitude to do that is something else.
One of these funny things, obviously you saw it a bit with Darren Clarke. He got caught, then had to pull back away. Saw it with Rory recently, but he obviously just fell short. Then saw it with Brooke Henderson. It's obviously not complacency, but there must be this different mindset when you go into a Sunday round of golf, when you've got a fairly strong lead going into an event, and you just change your game plan for whatever reason, because all of a sudden it becomes into protecting your score more so than following what you've done the previous 3 days. And it can, as much as it can obviously mean that when you go and win by 3, a bit of a jog, it obviously looks like you've done the right thing. But there can be an element of it where if someone gets on a real string in the groups behind you, all of a sudden you've got to have a real click, haven't you? And someone creeps up right behind you, because obviously seen in all 3 of those scenarios, Clarke and Henderson just getting it over the line, Rory didn't. It's it can work against you as much as it can work for you, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, most of them just play their own game, have a set game plan, and don't tend to look at the leaderboards until late on. And that was because we get to watch them. You get to watch the up and downs of every round of golf, really, that you tend to see. But yeah, how it all pans out, it's so different, and it comes so much down to people's personalities, how they see off tournaments. But yeah, there was some fantastic golf. There's, Charlie Hull up there again, didn't win a major, not won a major, but again, tied 3rd. She played some really good golf, to be honest. She played really good down the stretch, didn't make a couple of putts coming in, but, just at some point it's going to click for Charlie Hull. Played quite a heavy-handed chip on one of the holes, which was disappointing. But around that, her ball striking was absolutely bang on. Georgia Hall, top 10 again. And then honourable mention to Lynn Grant, who basically doesn't ever play badly as a professional. She's been a pro for a year. And I don't think she doesn't fuss with anything outside of the top 10, which is just unbelievable golf.
Cool. I think one of the funniest things I saw from the LPGA, Nige, I'm not sure if you picked this up. This is definitely a sort of
participation.
This is a miniature heads gone. I'm pretty sure it was Nelly, actually, who just lost a drive right into the trees. It was evidently this lady's debut event at a live golf tournament, sort of looking very nonchalant in her kind of pink fitted jeans and flowery crop top, and sees this ball just appear from her in between the trees on her walk path and just thinks, awesome, Titleist Pro V1. Straight in the pocket. Just picks it up and starts walking away. Like, actually, no, doesn't start pick it up and put it in her pocket. Starts waving it at her son or her husband, and the marshals start running down like, no, put it back. And Nelly Corder's just standing on the tee box like, what in God's name is going on?
She looked very pleased with herself, didn't she?
It was amazing. Unreal. Really enjoyed that. In that instance, then I assume that's just pick and replace, right? And then you just carry on.
Yeah, just put it back. It's not a big deal. Which sometimes some of the crowds don't realise that, and no one wants to own up to who picked it up and where was it. But actually, you just put it back. It's no real issue.
So they put it back. They don't just play it from where the person left it.
No, because then the person could run up and throw it by the green somewhere, couldn't they?
Yeah.
You could pay someone to go out there and just keep kicking up all 20 yards on. So yeah, so you have to replace it as close as possible. See. Nigel's brain ticking over there. Like,
I really enjoyed
delete that tactic.
Yeah.
Take that job off.
So well done to Brooke Henderson. Fantastic win there, back in the major winning circle. And then that brings us to the absolute no drama, sarcasm intended, PGA Tour event, which was just absolutely mental.
So weird.
We're sitting there doing the commentary for it, thinking, my co-host James Gregg going like, this is a bit boring, this, I mean, he's won this already. Scott Piercy, he's steaming away. He's 5 ahead.
I didn't even bother tuning in. I saw the score when I was on holiday, and I thought, I'm not going to make the effort to.
Yeah, it was done. We had said,
shots
that's
clear,
it.
and he'd had 3 really solid rounds. He just looked like he was in the zone.
And the type of golf he was playing didn't look like he was going to do anything different. He would just.
Well, even
you know,
I think after 10 holes, it looked like that, didn't it?
Yeah,
You were commentating on it, so did you? You still awake at that point?
Well, he made a bogey. He made 2 bogeys kind of around just up to the 9th, or up around the turn, and we thought, okay, well, someone could turn it on, and we could possibly get a playoff somewhere. And then, because Griot was kind of the player, we thought actually he's playing really good golf, hitting it mile, was a good ball striker in the wind, he could do it. But then he had that ridiculous triple bogey, which was from one bad shot where he threw the green, went into the trees, then took a drop, then tried to play an absolute hero shot, which he was never going to be able to pull off. Even if you were, a Shane Lowry or Cam Smith, you probably wouldn't have pulled off. And he's not really known for his short game, so that went wrong. He then bogeyed the next, and we thought, right, that's done.
Because he got a triple bogey on 7.
That's right, he got a triple bogey. And then all of a sudden, Scott Piercy dropped another shot, and then it was a bit like, oh, this is a bit more game on. And then he just got mad unlucky. He got plugged in the face of a fairway bunker to where he wasn't able to then move the ball out the bunker, so he could only advance it, but still in the bunker, and then still had 160 yards over water from the fairway bunker, which is an absolute nightmare situation, to which he then hits heavy, splash in the water, and you're thinking, oh my goodness. Then he hits a wedge shot onto the green that spins back off the green, not quite into the penalty, into the water hazard, and then ends up making the 7 out of nowhere. And then it was completely, all of a sudden, it was game on. And next thing, Tony Finau, who was playing quite nicely, kept on, just doing a typical Tony Finau, really, just kind of in the mix, ripping it, keeps leaving putt short. I think this is frustrating. Made a couple of putts, made 3 birdies in a row, and now he's got at one point had a 5-stroke lead, and everyone was just capitulating around him. It was how has this happened? How has this happened? And thoughts go to Scott Piercy, really, having led, you're thinking wire-to-wire win here, 5 ahead, he's not played well all year, and he's not going to keep his card to all of a sudden being a winner. And then now he's then thinking, and now the story flicks now to well, if I drop I'm 136th on the FedEx, now if I par the last 3 holes, I'm only going to move up to the 107th in the rankings. If I've dropped 1 shot, you're going to get back to the bubble mark, which is 125. And it's just golf, the roller coaster of emotions.
It shows you, though, isn't it, the mental aspect of it for someone. Because I tuned in when I saw the score changing, and his swing looked like it had just gone at that point. Like he just didn't really know what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. He looked like he wasn't going to miss a shot. He was hitting every fairway, giving himself opportunities. And then, as you say, towards the end, he looked like he could barely hit it. He just lost all feeling.
Shoulders were gone.
Everything. I mean, that drive off the 18th, it probably would have barely flown 230 yards.
I thought the tracer was broken. I thought, what's going on there?
Tracer guy's gone home.
Tracer's guy gone home. Got his 5-year-old kid doing it instead.
It was weird. It was bizarre.
Because the 3rd round he was bouncing around with 1 shoe on at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah. He had a blister on his right
away
foot.
And all happy, and just looking at him in the state he was going down 18.
Just a really weird weekend of golf with people picking balls up, and Scott Piercy playing 3/4 of his round in 1 shoe and carrying his FootJoy in his hand for, trudging up and down the fairway. It was quite bizarre. I mean, I think the class of Finau showed there, didn't he? Because he was already 3 under at the point for his round, and just slowly just amassing birdies, giving himself chances.
Oh, he made a couple of birdies early, and then he bogeyed 9, but even through that period, he was hitting good shots, but just leaving putts short. So he wasn't really in the mix, and he wasn't really operating. And it was a bit like, oh, this is going to be another Tony Finau, doesn't quite get it done. Because I'm a massive fan of Tony Finau, but there's something about him you think, can you just take the shackles off and just turn it on here? And he kept on leaving putts.
So I was reading this article.
As soon as he, sorry James, as soon as he got a whiff, he actually turned it on, which is actually not what we've seen from Tony before. And he did get slightly lucky on the 17th hole where it's a par 3 over water, and he's ripped it over the back of the green, just trying to play to the back, really, which was a smart play, and it rips it into the bleachers, pings back, back across past the pin, back down the green, and ends up just catching up in the rough short of the hazard.
On the yellow line, like literally a metre from the rocks,
Yeah, chips it close, and that was it kind of done. But it did look like a kind of a different Tony Finau. I was thinking, okay, this is great. And then he wings it in the water on the last hole.
Yeah.
And you just think, what is going on? Nobody wants it. It was a complete hot potato.
It was a bit like no one wants it.
It's funny you say that about Finau leaving all his putts short. I was reading this article. He's changed his putter setup this week. And you'll know this from being in the game, Zed. He's changed his putter setup with his new ping putter, and he has got 5 degrees of loft on his putter, which is huge. I mean, so for those that don't know, standard loft on a putter is about 3 degrees. So 5 degrees of loft is actually a lot. And more often than not, you might see players on tour, because they play on rapid greens, run at around about 3.5 so they can strike it a little bit more. But to have 5 degrees means he's really trying to hit it. And he was short on a lot of putts. He looked like he put stuff on a lot of good lines, but started rolling the rock in the back half of the back nine and knocked a couple in. And he did look incredibly solid. And I think the whole funny thing about, we talked about Rory and Victor last week about you do use momentum in your group, don't you, to thrive upon. Piercy was obviously notably struggling. The other guy in their group was struggling a little bit. And then Griot started, Griot obviously had a triple on the front side, so they didn't pull each other along. No. And and then obviously it opened the door for Tony, and it was bizarre, up 18, just kind of carving it right into the water.
Yeah, does anybody want this tournament?
Yeah, nobody wants it.
He's the highest ranked player, I think, wasn't he? 17th, I think, in the world. I think he was the highest ranked player of that week. So
had a few good players playing, but that was
favourite.
I mean, Sung Jae Im, he played unbelievable golf.
He just didn't hold a thing all week.
Didn't hold an absolute bean. He's some ball striker, but it was a bit of a ball striker's event in the end. I guess when the wind gets up, Griot is also known as a ball striker, not much for short game expert. But then special shout out to a couple of your players, Nige, Danny Willett and Callum Tarren, both Englishmen, finishing top 10, both well needed top 10s. Come to the back half of this season, they're gonna. It's interesting really, because they're nudging towards that. They've not had great starts. Well, Callum Tarren probably not had as many opportunities, but getting towards that bubble mark, 125. Yeah. But that 125 is not really 125 now, is it? Because of what's happening with the LIV Tour. So players are going to come out of the order of merit. So that must be...
Gives you a few extra people to...
It's kind of tricky, though, because you don't really know where do you really stand. You don't know, could you keep your card because someone's going to go or not go, or let's just ignore that and just go play. But there's a lot of uncertainty around that part of the playoff start.
You just got to go and play. You can't... build any of that into your game. It was good to see Danny. He had a solid 3-4 days.
Well, he struggled, didn't he? Bogeyed 1 and 2. I was thinking, oh no, you've had a good week to this point. Like step it on, and then not a lot dropped for him. Then he shot 5 under back 9, which is like really digging in, which was great to see. So top 7th for Danny and Callum. Great.
Were you guys reporting that he changed coach?
He's decided to opt away from working with Sean Foley for the moment, and about a week and a half ago he's gone back to his old coach Mike Walker, who, if you're from the UK, you'll know Mike's a famous UK coach. I think he's heavily involved, isn't he, in the country setups there, isn't he, with the England teams and stuff like that from past.
I don't know that Graham Walker is. Graham Walker is. Mike Walker is, he's kind of been under the tutelage of Pete Cowan for a long time, and in his own right now, he probably coaches more players than Pete. He's a really hard worker, and he's got a lot of really good players. So he's obviously nice for Danny to make that switch and see some results straight away. Sometimes, you know what, he's probably telling them exactly the same thing, but you just need to hear it in a different way from somebody else, and it gives you something a little bit fresh. Nice to get something, just to get that feedback or get that bounce back straight away, and something to take into the end of the season, which we know he's a classy player, Danny Willett, and he's more of a. It's funny, really, because he has these dips in form where he kind of completely loses his way, but then when he does play well, he wins big events. So he wins the Masters, wins the Wentworth, he wins DP World events. It's kind of strange. It's like, but it's not as if he's not someone who's like a relaxed guy and he just can't be bothered. He's a very energetic, bouncy character, and he works hard. Yeah, it's an interesting situation there. Not many players like that. It's not through to lack of effort or anything like that.
I think what he was saying when we spoke to him in April, just to give some people some inside the ropes insight, was
bit of tour chat from James Slate.
Yeah, he's been working with a couple of people, and they've been trying to get him to hit a draw, and he kind of bought into it, and like a sort of very, very committed player. He's just like gone bang, 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 just tried to find this like little draw. And then I think it was his caddy, actually, Smarty, who's a really lovely guy. It just said, mate, we have won so much money hitting a tight fade. Like,
that's funny, because when I played with him when I first turned pro, he hit everything right to left. He didn't have a left right in him, and he was an unbelievable striker. And I remember playing with him, and during that time, him, Ollie Fisher, Chris Wood, and Rory McIlroy, and people would say, "Oh, who's been the most impressive?" And it was for me, it was always Danny impressed me more than Rory did at that time. Rory hit it great, he hit it high and whatever, but Danny's absolutely crushed it, and he would just hit driver down. He would hit these like full out drivers, and he was long then. Like he's still average long now, like average to long, but then he was like really long. And he just hit this like 12-yard draw down the tightest holes, right out the middle, and just pump it down there. And I just thought, this kid's like a world beater, because he's brilliant with a wedge.
Yeah,
his wedge play is really, really good. Yeah, and then he's changed. When he went to Pete the first time, he started hitting it left to right, and then he kind of won the Masters and so forth. So he's messed about with his game, which is maybe that's part of what we're trying to find out here, why he hasn't been more consistent than he is.
Yeah, well, and he's, like you said, he's won 8 or 9 times on tour, so he's got a fairly prolific record and in some pretty big events and notched up some fairly big checks. But they had said to him to go back to hitting a fade, and he was notably struggling on the range at Augusta, and then he went out and made the cut and ended up having a top 12, I think, at Augusta, where you didn't think he had much game at all, and has just carried on trying to find it and grind it back in. Yeah, he's obviously working extremely hard to find something in the penultimate part of the season.
Callum Tarren coming home in 5 under par really tidied his tournament up, because at one point he was like in the mix, going into Saturday off the back of a really good, I think it was second round.
They've spent a bit of time talking about Callum in the skybox, and they've said if he just converted like 1 or 2 of his chances to the Thursday, Friday, Saturday golf into the Sunday golf, he'd probably be really home and dry with retaining his card now. He's just struggling a bit on Sundays, but no doubt it's
just that bit of pressure, isn't it? Yeah, I've done a couple of times, because when we do the commentary for Eurosport and Discovery on the weekends, we're always trying, especially small events, you're trying to look for a bit of a story, and we're like the English fraction, so we're always like, right, Callum Tarren, where is he? And he's been he's been on our screens a little bit.
Yeah,
he's a very impressive player, hits the ball absolutely miles, but you can just tell that he's not being out there for years and hasn't quite found the formula to what's your energy need to be like on a Saturday, and then what's it need to be like on Sunday. But he's obviously getting closer. A good finish like that, 5 under on the back 9. He's going to do his confidence an absolute world of good.
I think that would be a potential tweak of really experienced caddy coming into the fray there, just guiding you through those last 9 holes.
I think there's a part of that, but the most important part, which this sounds really elementary and it sounds almost too basic. And I was told it by Mark Rowe, because I had a similar thing when I was kept on getting off to good starts, and I just couldn't quite finish the tournaments off. And it's quite a hard skill, really. And it becomes quite frustrating, and then it builds up, and you feel like you've got a bit of a monkey in your back, and you think, oh, am I ever going to do it? And I must be doing something wrong, or what's the key? And I remember I sat with Mark Rowe at the British Masters at the Belfry, and he said to me, I've seen you keep getting some good tournaments, not quite finishing it off. And I said to him, I just not really worked out what the formula is. And he said to me, Zane, one day you'll shoot a 69 on the last round, and said you won't ever look back. You just have to do it. And that was it. And I did. And I shot that good last round. All of a sudden, all the weight just goes, and you go, oh, that's it.
I can do it.
It's done. It's a bit like when you break 90. You start golf and you're trying to get down, and you break 100, that's fine. And then you think, I've got to break 90, You get 91, then you get close to it, and you don't. And then one day, the day you break 90, you never look back, do you? No. And it's exactly the same. It's the same experience that these guys are going through. You do it once, and you just go, oh, I can do that. And then it's completely gone. Do
the golfers have like mind coaches? Is that part of the formula these days?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it was very much part of the formula these days. It's almost evolving. It seems. It seemed like.
But does one person do loads of golfers, or do they all have their own little?
Yeah, there's a handful. I don't know about the PGA Tour. I know in Europe there's like 2 or 3 guys that look after quite a few golfers. But then it's almost that wave's almost passing a little bit, because it used to be. No one really did it, and then it was like in the Faldo days, it was like a mental weakness.
It used to be talked about a bit, but when it was becoming a fashion. But is it a fashion?
Yeah,
is it gone, or is it still heavily used?
I don't think it. I think more now, everyone's kind of drifted towards this like performance. It's kind of fashionable to have a performance coach who works on your game directly,
right,
with you. It's not quite as prevalent that you have a psychologist come out on the course, but I think a lot of them are finding I'm not speaking for everyone here, that, a lot of psychologists don't necessarily relate to, you're almost better speaking to someone who's been there and done it.
Yeah.
And not saying it's not good to have a psychologist or a therapist to sort you out in your own life and make you a better human being, but I think in terms of how it comes to golf, it doesn't always make you a better golfer.
It's a very unique situation, and understanding that you've probably been working for 20, 30 years at this to get to that point.
You take a lot of solace from relatable feelings, don't you? Someone else who's been in that position at that given time. I think Faldo used to speak like Fanny was pretty much his mind coach. I mean, she talks about post Faldo's career. When people ask her about, what was it like, 6-time major champion, technically so gifted, went through swing changes. And she used to talk about how she would manage his mind as much as his game. And I think, part of that's a partnership, isn't it, as well? And then that, like you say, it's evolved now, and performance coaches, the rise of Dave Allred, obviously, and what he's achieved with some players in the game's been quite crazy. So
there's been chat that Rory's does spend time with Dr. Bob Rotella.
Really?
Yeah, I think Dr. Bob Rotella was the main, kind of mind guru of generation when I came through, and it still seems like he's in terms of a golf psychologist, he's like the best one. I think to be a golf psychologist, I think it's such a tricky space to kind of live in and operate in, because I think there's been a lot of guys. Been a lot of golf psychologists over the time who have been charlatans, really. You're just clinging on, talking to people about golf, don't really know anything about it, but because they've got something after their name that makes them an expert, but doesn't necessarily make you a better golfer.
Today's golfer always used to pump Carl Morris as the big guy in the mind space. Like
he's been good for a long time, hasn't he? Yeah.
He's always had a few pages in the old Today's Golfer.
Got a few of his tips for us, James?
I don't know. He used to draw squares on fairways and see if you can hit it in a box. That was I remember that, but that was a few years ago.
Helpful.
That sounds like performance as opposed to.
Well, I think it's probably about the mind side of it. Would probably be about reduce the size of your target, and then you can have a wider expectations, and if you're trying to aim at a pinpoint area, and you've actually then made the area that you can hit it into that much bigger. But I think Zane's absolutely on the money. I think it does relate a lot back to performance. It's about trying to create the positive thinking, I guess, and the execution that you can do it from a mental perspective, and then the delivery, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if anyone is looking for some kind of like golf psychology mind help, sounds like you need to reach out to James Slate. He knows all the tricks. He read all the books.
I'll go and do a weekend PhD, and I'll be with you.
Online.
Don't
even have to get dressed.
Yeah, exactly. Just the top half, wear my pants on the bottom half for the Zoom calls.
Pants on your head.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's roll into some chat, which we can't get away from at the moment. Hopefully we won't always have to talk about it, but we should talk about it. What's going on with the LIV Golf revelations is what I've got written down here. We're going to start with the first one of, the ex-Ryder Cup skipper, Henrik Stenson, turning to the dark side of the LIV. What do we think about that?
I think it was inevitable. He's in the same management company, which is a small boutique management company of Poulter, Westwood and Horsfield. They've already gone. It just felt like it was that the timing was going to be there. He'd already.
It's like having your mates in a party and you're not invited, isn't it?
Yeah, you stand outside looking through the window.
Looking at them on the jet all boozing. Thinking,
why has he got a slightly nice jet than me?
Yeah. I'll caddy for you.
I've won a major.
Yeah. It's obviously, I just felt it was inevitable, and there was never going to be a right time to announce that. And it's going to, I think look, I understand it, and he's gone, and he's within that age bracket of the players that have gone, and rightly so. And it's like a footballer who turns 30, who's in for his last big contract of his career. He feels like he's probably in that space with his golf career. So you can understand why he's getting amongst it. I think it was just everybody who loves golf and has been around it for so ever many years is just the only reason it's a bit sour is because they're just so worried about what this means for the Ryder Cup, and the expectation and the romance of Europe versus America in my lifetime has always felt like Ryder Cup points to players are as important as anything else that they can achieve. It is an absolute honour to represent your continent. This just feels like it's dampened that,
Well, your fan base goes up from a few million to tens of millions in a Ryder Cup, doesn't it? And the whole energy level and and also a team event, which is something very rare for these golfers to experience. So the Ryder Cup points are so valuable, and I mean, he made it very clear in his letter that he tried, LIV were trying to accommodate him still fulfilling his obligations as the captain. But
it's easy to write those things.
I wonder where that's going to end up, because the way it looks right now is that the Ryder Cup's kind of been decimated, really. From the US team is going to be completely pulled apart now. The big names that we want to see at the moment are now not eligible. We're obviously now losing some European players. I mean, we've lost Henrik. Henrik was the captain. I'm not sure which players we've lost so far, but I'm sure that there's more to come. That's going to happen, in that time. And you just think, what will a Ryder Cup now look like? Will they play this next one? And after that, it's not going to hold the same weight that the other ones have.
You've got to think
probably just captain's picks on the European side.
I just think that the thing about the Ryder Cup was it's the best players in the world. The best players we got. I know, barring the rest of the world players, but essentially, as we know it as Europeans, that's the best players, and that's what it all revolves around. This is like the spectacle of the two tours coming together, and then all of a sudden, when those tours are being depleted, probably by the time it comes around by 50%. Now, it's not going to hold the same sort of weight, surely.
So right now, as of today, the American team, if it was just like, if they wanted to have available to them the top 12 ranked players in the world, Scheffler, Cantlay, Schauffele, Thomas, Morikawa, Sam Burns, Spieth, Zalatoris, Horschel, Finau, DJ, Cameron Young, Max Homa, Brooks Koepka, Kevin Kisner, Daniel Berger.
Surely.
So Brooks would be the 12th highest ranked player, yeah.
But he's not in it, right?
No, so obviously DJ and Brooks would be... so they'd have 10 of the top 12 options.
Yeah.
So if you were going purely on the 8 highest ranked players and then 4 captains' picks, he's taken a couple of picks away from himself.
But the rankings are going to continually drop for the LIV players, obviously.
Yeah.
As time goes on.
And you know what? Looking at the American teams, I think probably to alleviate Zane's point, the American team then actually is in pretty strong shape. But what does it mean for the European team? I mean, bar Rory and Rahm, Matt Fitzpatrick, Victor Hovland, and then you start going into... Lowry's still there.
Fleetwood will be in there, won't he?
Fleetwood's the next ranked player. He's come out. Tyrrell Hatton. Then Paul Casey is the 7th highest ranked player. He's gone. Seamus Power. He's having a great year. He would be there. So, Justin Rose. Then Alex Noren. You start sort of going quite a further way down the road.
And that's today. Who else is going to sign? Who else is going to go?
Yeah.
You kind of feel like they've got to come some sort of arrangement, some sort of agreement where they can become eligible again. Just I think more for the DP World Tour, really. I think the PGA Tour will press on and it will be quite good. And as it looks at the moment, I don't have a crystal ball, but it looks like it's going to become a bit of a LIV and PGA Tour kind of golfing world over the next 5-10 years. What's going to happen in 10 years? But whereas it seems like the DP World Tour are going to really take the hit on all this, and that's going to be a real shame.
I mean, they've signed their 13-year alliance, Zane, with PGA Tour. I mean,
it just seems like it's just going to become a PGA Tour.
Yeah,
it's just going to become an extension of it's all going to be PGA Tour, and it seems like that signing a strategic alliance during the COVID pandemic is going to come back to bite the DP World Tour.
What do you think actually the PGA Tour's intention of that is? Because if I'm being really cynical, I actually think they're going to use the DP World Tour to dip their toe with the risk taking about how they try and alleviate the LIV Tour. If it blows up in their face, a little bit like it did with the banning of players and also fines from the Scottish and the BMW, then it looks crap for the DP World Tour, and the PGA Tour gets to sort of walk out the back door and not take any responsibility for it. But people were hoping that the alliance with it was going to be like it would free up more cash. The purses of those events would get that much more exciting. There would be opportunities for co-sanctioned events. Players could qualify maybe across from Challenge to Corn Ferry, or they were hoping that there was going to be this whole kind of world structure. We haven't heard anything like that.
Okay, so what we've seen so far is that the Scottish Open was a PGA Tour event, and DP World event, but really as a viewer, it was a PGA Tour event. This happened to be in Scotland, and then. Then the Travellers and the Barbasol, there was quite a few European, players in there. So it almost like they kind of flip rolled, really. And I think that's how it's going to go. The European Tour players are going to get into all the small events. I think the difference is now it's just going to be played. The PGA Tour coming into the DP World Tour just get a greater global coverage. They're able to now cast their net further. They've gone China, they've gone South America. They've now been able to go, right, they're going to throw their net over Europe and then into the parts of Asia where the DP World Tour already go. That's going to be another battle because Asia are going to get stronger, so they're going to push back. It's almost going to be a bit of a military operation, really. But it just seems like that the DP World Tour is just going to make the PGA Tour bigger. Which, you know what, I think there's too many PGA Tour events. There's like, as a fan, as an entertainment package, we almost need a little bit less.
Yeah, you do.
To have bigger events. It's almost like there's too many events.
Keep on top of. Every weekend, 4 days of golf.
And it is in this little period now that we're in right now, which feels like you go on holiday a little bit. Like the lot of the bigger players now, they've just played their major calendar, like all 4 majors. They're just trying to kind of probably reconnect with like what do they need to do to compete for those kind of events next year.
They're just like now in a break, getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, they're all in a break now.
I think or
drinking beers out of
Claret Jug.
That's quite impressive, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, you've got the playoffs coming up, which is quite exciting. You've got those 4 events, which I think if you wrap all the 4 events, it kind of creates quite a good little product, and it has quite a good ending to it, which doesn't quite hit it kind of becomes a bit like a major because it's a bit of a story in itself across all the 4 events. But yeah, it does seem very odd. And talking about beers out of Claret Jugs, there's obviously a big chat about Cam Smith going across to the dark side, which would be a real hit, that, because walking off the back, have our Open champion, and we know that to then if he's going to go and
it makes
the character that
the way
Cam
that
Smith
he won the Open and the players, he's
the type of character he is. He's quite clearly a kind of guy who doesn't really. He's not everyone. I mean, everyone's counted the dollars, but he wants to compete. Like, you kind of get that buzz from him. He wouldn't really necessarily know if he's got 10 million or 20 million in the bank.
Yeah,
he's out there just doing. And he's openly said that. Before he said that he doesn't need the money. He doesn't really actually know how much money he's got. Yeah. He wants to be playing against Rory. He wants to be doing that against down the stretch to the players. At the Open Championship, and it just seems like by going to the LIV, like it or not, it's just not as competitive over there.
And that those statements will be somewhat undermined, right? Because if you want to be playing against the best players in the world, you need to be in the tournaments that have the number 1 ranked player in the world in them.
And people keep saying about this. I mean, I just said it there. People keep saying about that want to play against the best players. The more players that are going, the more appealing it is because there are good players over there. It's more of an excuse, but underpinning all that, they're not what these players have grown up with. They're not major championships. They're not really as competitive as much as they're trying to beat.
Yeah.
Some of the other podcasts I listen to put it quite right. It's almost a bit of they're a bit member guest like those events. They're kind of competitive, but they're a bit of fun. We have a bit of fun on the plane on the way over and whatever. On
the flip side though, if you draw back from it, you and I had an off-air conversation midweek and we had a little chat about it, and you pull yourself back from it. It kind of makes a lot of sense. Cameron Smith's Australian. Greg Norman's, most famous Australian golfer ever. He has got like a quirky mullet and like a decent set of bike handles like under his nose. He is in there just getting absolutely loose as a goose, like out of his Claret Jug with his caddy, which has been exemplified a little bit by some of the party antics that have happened on the LIV Tour. And I was hearing that they had around about 75 million on the table for him after winning the Open. He got another 50% on that. It's $125 million.
Well, wait a minute, James. You got a source, have you? What's your source? Are you going to reveal?
My source is
Twitter.
Yeah. And there's a guy who's called Inside the Tour, but he spelt Tour Tuor. But I don't want to tell him because I like following him in case he blocks me. But no. So he's my tomato ketchup. I mean, look, whether the numbers are real or not, obviously he's trending in the right direction. He's probably one of the first players who've come in at a point and they look like they're still getting better and better and better, because there's no denying he arguably should have won the Masters. He won Sawgrass, has gone and won the Open in super impressive fashion. And I think one of the things we said, if you look at his sponsors, he's not that bothered about the off-course stuff and trying to make, significant amounts of off-course cash with, he just likes his penguin clothes. He likes the manufacturer that he represents.
Then where's the motivation for him to go?
Well, the motivation probably...
He must like money, or someone around him likes money.
That's what I mean. I think it is... But this has been the first off-course deal where it is absolutely life-changing amounts of cash, where it makes it... It's not like Rory, is it, with his $150 million tailor-made deal. He doesn't need to sign for LIV. He's got off-course deals that match LIV money, as has Tiger. Cameron Smith's probably not in that conversation at the moment where he's getting those kind of deals.
Ask your boy on Twitter if he knows how much...
He has a haircut, he might get a short.
And that's the thing, isn't it? For the PGA Tour, where all of the they're very clean cut individuals who are
Exactly.
the marketing individuals, whereby he probably exemplifies what they're trying to create on the LIV Tour.
Beers and golf.
I think he must be one of the most popular golfers out there at the moment. I don't think anyone has anything negative to say about
people
Callum
like
Smith.
him. Yeah,
he goes for the pin and shots where he just doesn't care.
He plays a great brand of golf.
He just goes out and
Exciting
plays the game, and you can just see he just wants to play golf.
Yeah.
He's not in it for the money. He's not in it for the branding or the popularity.
Right.
He's just doing it because he's grown up playing golf and he wants to just play golf.
If Patrick Cantlay's playing golf, and then the next group, Cam Smith's there. Who are you going to go and watch?
No brainer.
And yet they're both fantastic players, aren't they? It's an absolute no-brainer for all reasons around golf, and just the way that he plays golf. They both probably hit the ball the same distance, both great around the greens and stuff, but he does kind of embody what new golf is.
Yeah.
So,
it's just, people latching onto it is that you've got a great golfer there who's strongly appealing to the public. Just hopefully he doesn't get a girlfriend. That'll mess things up.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, Cam, don't get a missus. So then, we're going to say who is next, but I think they're two pretty big ones there. That's kind of rocked the golfing world. If Cam Smith goes, he hasn't.
Well, that won't happen till they reckon the very end of the season.
The next one, yeah.
Well, they've also
He'll want to see out the FedEx Cup season.
Yeah, of course.
Now he's up there on that.
So those rumours are going to be circulating for the next couple of months.
But do you think the PGA Tour, if they think it's pretty much like a done deal, they'll say to him, "Sorry, you can't play in the events."
They can't. How can you can't speculatively ban somebody?
Yeah.
You can't speculatively say, "Oh, you might sign, so we're going to ban you." They're struggling to ban people who have signed. So, it's not cool. And Sergio Garcia, he's done his whole. He's backed out from the tour. So we'll see.
And
see how that pans out.
Beyond that, they've obviously signed David Ferretti now. So they've got some broadcasters in there, like some big name broadcasters.
They're having a conversation with Gary McCord. So their coverage is about to get a lot more entertaining.
Yeah,
you haven't had a call yet, Zane. Then
no, I'm fielding the call. I don't answer numbers that are not saved on my phone. And I don't check my WhatsApps.
You don't answer to the Nigerian princes.
No, I've got 242 unread WhatsApps. They're probably in there somewhere.
God.
Yeah, they're probably in there.
I don't even know 242 people, let alone to ignore.
I've got 23,621 emails unopened.
That sounds like you need a PA, so send in your applications to info@beartiger.io to help Zane out. Obviously, Zed, over and above them signing Henrik, they've also signed Charles Howell III, Jason Cockrat this week. So, I've always been a fan of Charles Howell III. I can relate so much to watching him. Like, he reminds me of watching golf 20 years ago. Yeah, good. Actually, good for him. He's always been in the shadows a little bit, but had an exemplary PGA Tour career.
A brilliant player, isn't he? He's got a mustard game, and he's gone about his business. Not won very much, but just racked up the dollars. He's not really a loss, is he? You can't really see why they've signed him to a certain extent. He's not going to move the needle. Greg actually came out and said that he's fielding calls from agents now, and now he can't fulfil them. I think Charles Howell's great, and he's got one of my favourite golf swings. And I think he rips it, all these different things. But to me, that just seemed like a bit of an odd signing over keeping some cash back for a younger, more dynamic player. He's towards the end of his career. He's made 40, probably nearly $50 million, and most golfers wouldn't even know who he is if he came on the screen.
And what's the strategy at LIV when if they keep signing good players?
I think the strategy is
will they grow the field, or will they? Is it 48, isn't it?
48. Yeah, people get pushed out.
So Garcia signed up, and then eventually he's the 49th best player they've got. They just they rip up the contract, and he's not playing.
Later. He'll have
got nowhere to go.
Well, I guess he'll have a guaranteed. I think the contracts are over 5 years, so a guaranteed amount of money, and whether he gets in or doesn't get in, he'll still get paid.
They'll probably just add extra teams, though, wouldn't they? Because if they get a bigger, I guess it's a shot.
We'll see what they do. I mean, that
you can only have 48 players on the course.
Well, unless you go you'd have to go straight from 48 to 96 and have a 2T start.
Which then kind of belittles our whole product. The whole product is we have the 48 best players, and that's what you want to see. Because you don't, like it or not, 150-man field. There's all the different stories. If you're in golf, you understand it, but it's probably a bit too many players, really. If you're being really honest,
that's why we have the cut, really.
Exactly. So then, They've just got to keep it there. And the other players are now going to be pushed out, and they're talking about, how they're pushed out to go and play in the Asian Tour to fill their schedule.
Which is kind of funny, right? Because if you think someone signs for $5, $6, $7 million signing on fee, 5-year deal, and within 6 months' time, like you say, it keeps getting this exponential interest and like better players come in, then you can never get in an event. You know, someone might turn around and say, I know you got to play for a living, but you were averaging 2.25 million on tour on the PGA Tour. You've now got 7 million over 5 years. You can't get in an event. And you can't get back on the PGA Tour. You can't get back on the DP World Tour. So when we actually sit here and analyse, you can sit around do nothing with your thumb up your jacksie for $7 million, but you would have actually earned 11 million if you were playing golf based on what you've averaged in the past. And there will be a couple of stories where I reckon that will come out like that, where there'll be a few head scratchers thinking, didn't see that coming. Thought I was going to be guaranteed to be getting my $170,000 for shooting 800 over every week on my 8 events. So, yeah,
there's so much to this, isn't there? And it's going to keep rumbling on. So we'll have to just keep our eye on it over the next
it helps
week.
That was half an hour content, so thank you, Liv.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Right, so we want to just touch on the project that where this is really born out of, really, and trying to explain a little bit about the Bear Tiger Club. So we're not going to dump the whole massive scope of it on you in the next 10, 15 minutes, or whatever it is, but we're just going to run for a little bit of it. So who wants to... James likes words, so let's go. What is the Bear Tiger Club, James? I'm going to put it on you to put the pressure on you. So you take all the words, and then what we'll do is we'll
be able to do the elevator pitch.
Yeah, no pressure.
And we'll try and simplify it all for us.
Yeah, I mean, look, fundamentally, when this project started and it's grown now and we've got a great board, you know, the mission statement has not moved from wanting to build the biggest digital community in golf, and that is absolutely still where we stand and what we're trying to achieve. We've looked at doing that through a multitude of different ways, you know, in the past, and feel like we've found and fallen upon something where we can utilise enhanced and new technology through the blockchain to create a really transparent forum where we can grow a business now that is absolutely for the people and have multiple revenue streams and streams of interest for the consumer that will allow them to have, you know, a one-stop shop for golf, but somewhere that they can certainly come for a multitude of things.
So just real quick, so I'll be the translator. It's a club which is housed on the blockchain, which is, what's the blockchain?
A blockchain is, well, there's multiple blockchains. It is...
what's the blockchain we're on? We'll get the multiple blockchains later. What's the blockchain in simple terms?
We're on the Ethereum blockchain.
Right, great. And that's gonna house our digital membership card?
It's going to house our digital country club and our digital membership cards, correct.
Right. So if you hold a digital membership card, that gets you membership to the club?
Correct.
And what else did it get you?
A multitude of things. It'll be access to our training app, which I know you're working very hard at building the content for, an enlarged and growing community, our line of merch, which we're partnering with Jay Lindbergh in the coming days, weeks and months, in real life and digital golf competitions, and just a whole host of things.
So it sounds like it's a pretty much normal golf club without the actual golf course at the moment and the bricks and mortar, all the other parts like the coaching and mixing with people, networking, competitions, equipment, all that chat.
Media channel.
So all the media stuff, which basically, if you're a member or not a member, just part of the community, you can go and watch all the golf stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's three levels of membership. So the general public, what will become the Bears and Tigers, for which there is a supply of 2 lots of 5,972, and then our GOATs, which is our premier range of members, which is an invite-only process by our founders, which have been brought in as individuals who are probably in the athlete, high-level blockchain world at the moment, and corporate celebrities who are coming in from an advisory and influence spectrum as well at the moment to assist us with the very, very early stages of our business as well.
Pretty good.
Thanks.
Nigel, what's your take on it?
Well,
how would you explain it?
You can't beat that. You know, I'm exactly that. You know, I'm a member. I've got my GOAT, my NFT as it's called, my digital membership card, and you know it's exciting being part of what is a small startup at the moment, but growing rapidly with a lot of really good people around, and you know building genuine revenue streams in this business, which is something I enjoy doing. Yeah,
it's good fun because it's kind of a space where you can kind of do what you want, take it in any direction you want. Because golf's been a bit stuck in, you know, these are the rules, this is the way it's always been. You're not allowed to operate outside these rules. And then now we're moving to this time of, you know, it's always been like, you know, like the term like grow the game. Like I think that's BS. Like what even is that? Just golf being here grows the game. And then, you know, golf being open for all, which again is a bit lazy. Where actually what we want to make golf welcoming, accessible, accepting of everybody from whatever walk of life you come from. Golf has a place for you. And I just feel like we're able, you know, in this, one of our main goals of this is to make that possible. You know, whether you play golf, you know, like Nige, since you're a boy and you've been a member of, like, you know, very old school clubs and consume golf that way, right through to, you know, I always use the example of my son he's not interested in hitting balls. He'll hit like 3 or 4 shots and wants to go and play in the bushes or go and play on his Switch.
Stack the golf balls is a good
exactly.
thing. My girls love it.
Exactly.
Do the pyramid of balls as opposed to hit the balls.
And they were probably happier to play golf on a device than they would be to go and have to stand there and grind it out.
Yeah.
You know, hitting high draws for an hour or so. And then, you know, it doesn't, you know, whether you're male or female or whatever culture you're from, what colour you are, it shouldn't make any difference. And golf can be quite intimidating walking into a clubhouse. But essentially here what we're saying is, you know, you can be a member, doesn't matter where you're from. And, you know, our clubhouse is going to be digital, so you can be the person or look however you want to look going in there. That makes absolutely no difference. It's a nice way to be able to, you know, hopefully we're ticking quite a lot of boxes, but there's an avenue for each person. And what we don't want it to be is no intimidation. If you're very affluent and you want to experience golf in that way, we can cater for that. And then if you're just starting golf and you've got no money, there's a way of coming in and getting involved and being a part of it. And, you know, hopefully we can service some of that and help you through and help enrich your life through golf.
Just even if you just come in at that level and just harness the community to try and find people in your local village, town, city, or within a commutable area that you can go and play golf with, that means that we've helped. And that's great. And just to come back on your point there's 2 things that really struck me about what we're doing with this project, which means we're definitely heading in a really exciting in the right direction. The first one actually is with Roman. And when we were first down in the den, our lab, for those that are wondering what that is, we designed our digital country club. Roman being 8 years old, you know, same as my daughter, is into, you know, but he's super astute from a technology perspective and knows his way around things that I wish I knew now, let alone when I was 8 years old. And he took our digital country club and started building the interiors for it. And within a couple of days, he'd put a fireplace in and he'd put this digital lounge in, and there was a restaurant and there was these things hanging on the wall, and there was a foyer and this.
It's a good point, actually. He sent me his invoice the other day.
Yeah, it was your bank details, so I didn't pay it. You know, and all of a sudden you're like, hang on a second, we've done something really cool here. Someone's interacted with their child, and when we build our golf first hour, which will go into loads of details in the future, it will warp a load of brains. You know, that means you can do something with your child who's not quite got their swinging a golf club experience yet, but they found something super enjoyable. The other thing was playing in monthly medals. You know, it's great playing in your golf country club, and there may be 60, 70 people in there, and that's really special to win. I do like the idea of being able to win a medal where like 100,000 people are playing, and that'd be pretty cool to tell your grandkids, because you can accommodate a global digital country club. So
probably a high chance of a playoff.
Yeah, can you imagine? We've got a playoff.
2,000 people in our playoff.
There's 2,011 people. Can you all be online at this time? Yeah, so you know, it won't get dark in the metaverse. Don't worry, Nige. But yeah, you know, so things like that are some of the things that we're working towards and we're building, and you know, we'll release it over the course of time. But if we get those things right and we carry on working in this direction, it's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that it can be consumed. You know what? And if someone just watches one of our videos, that, you know, you're very much welcome to be a part of our community, and that is a start. Which we've been working really hard on. We kind of launched our first decent YouTube film this week, the Link stuff. We got a bit more from we had a trip down to Prince's.
Yeah,
the whole team went down. We played the cat and mouse game, which was really great fun. And then we've got some more pieces coming from there. So we got just our game that we played, which was great fun. Josh and I battled it out. James walked around in a huff, providing the real entertainment when it comes down to it. Then we did a one club challenge, which we're going to be releasing soon, which James provides even more entertainment on there, which is fantastic. And then Josh is dropping Josh and myself a few tips on other videos from how to play links golf. So that was really good fun. We've got plenty more of that coming up. We had the warm up video, but yeah, and we actually got Nige in for one of which we need to edit some of that footage. The Matt Fitzpatrick bunker shot. We had Nige in for that part, which was exciting.
We don't need to rush on that one.
You got it out. It was good.
We're talking about the ball, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm quite happy that content comes out. That was one of my better shots. So
he hit a good bunker shot.
Yeah, it was nice. So we're running pretty long, so we've got quite a few more bits to get through. We're going to cut a couple of them and save them for next week. But let's have a quick one we do every week. Head's gone. James, who's your head's gone?
Well, it's got to be Scott Piercy, isn't it? I mean,
It's hard not to have him as the top there.
it was tough to watch, but it was a whopping heads gone. I mean, to have been so pure for 3.5 rounds. I know he had the triple on 14, which you could sell just like sucked all the final life out of him. But he also had 6 bogeys as well. You know, it was just It was that. I mean,
It was no good, was it?
And then obviously, like he said, when one of the 4-year-olds broke into the studio and managed to shot tracer on 18, he sort of hit one right out of the adapter. It was.
It's not often you watch the game when you start to feel really sad and sort of like, oh, I know how.
Just put some sad music over the top of it.
But it's all a bit gloomy.
But I was a bit pissed off with the PGA Tour people that did the video. Or the highlights, because I tuned in this morning. Because
Is that what you wanted?
I wanted to see what happened on on the hole where he blew up and got his triple bogey, and so I watched the round 4 highlights, and they literally just mention it briefly in the commentary. They don't even show a single shot that Scott played, and it's just 2 things strike. I can understand they don't want to show bad golf, but I wasn't going to tune into that event because it was. I just thought it was a foregone conclusion, and so. Publicising the fact that it's not over till it's over, and actually it turned out to be. You were commentating. It was a relatively. Was it nail biting? I don't know. It was just dramatic because it looked like nobody was wanting to win it, and it was just. And Tony was just sliding along there playing some solid golf, and he got it. And so if I'd known this likelihood of more happening, I'd be in there. I'd watch it.
Nice.
Yeah. So was it your head gone as well?
No, I'm
the PGA Tour.
The person that edits the PGA Tour,
the PGA
roundup.
Tour social media content roundup guy.
You can't,
him.
and also
tweet him.
Tweet him. Find him. TBTC Big Nige.
I can't wait for this.
Find him.
Be on that geezer.
Yeah, get on it.
We'll be on that. I'm gonna just to add to another head's gone. My one was Nelly Corder. I switched on the women's golf, and Nelly Corder was up there. I was thinking, right, my favourite golf swing. Right, she's gonna smash this. And she hit it in the trees, and she had quite a straightforward chip out, and she didn't chip out. She left it in the crap, and then had to hack it out again. And I was like, oh, "What are you doing?" So that kind of ruined my afternoon's golf. But yeah, that was.
What did she get?
That was my head's gone. She finished. Yeah, she finished. Well, I think she made a bogey, but it was a par 5. She's a long hitter. I needed to make birdie on the way in.
Yeah.
To keep putting the pressure on, but didn't happen. But
see, getting all emotionally attached to the golfers you like.
Right. That's right. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. So that's quite relatively long. Then nearly an hour and 10.
I will just add, Zed, that now that we're completely fully live on Bear Tiger and everyone can go in multiple different directions.
I was getting to that part. And James has been on me all week about, right, when we do the pod, we got to do the like and subscribe and then all the channels at the end of it. So you brought it home. You can take it from here.
Right. So remember to like my stuff, dislike Zane's, because that's just for the moral high ground. It's going to give me loads of... but it's all in one... B unit's just in the den, just carving it all into one space now. So I don't have to tell you about going to...
B unit is our tech god who lives in the background, just
in the ether,
putting it all together.
Up next to 4 on his cloud.
He has to take vitamin D pills because he's not allowed out.
Yeah.
He's like the Oracle from The Matrix.
Yeah, exactly. Not popping pills. And bending spoons. And he has created this beautiful forum for us where you can get absolutely everything you need at the Bear Tiger Club. So it's linktree/Bear Tiger Club. And you will find everything on there from our YouTube channel, Twitter, Instagram, our course guide, which is our 3-year business plan, which will give you all a much more detailed insight into what's going on. So enjoy, read, some toilet reading.
And like.
Yeah. And subscribe.
Follow.
There we go. Perfect. That was a perfect outro, guys. Well done. Nice one. Good chatting to you guys. And we'll see everybody.
See you soon.
We'll be talking and you can all listen to us next week.
Cheers, Ed.
Bye-bye.
Bye.